Hello, welcome. I want to start off with three very simple questions. Please have pen and paper. Question number one: do you want to leave a legacy for future generations? Question number two: do you want to save taxes year after year, generations after generations? Number three: do you want to know the secret of the rich? Imagine imagine saving four figures, five figures, six figures in taxes every single year. You can use this money to pay off your mortgage, to buy a new car, to take your family on vacation, to save for retirement, give to charity. Imagine all this become. Think of all the worry and anxiety that you will stop having. Think of all the time and money that you will save. Imagine the playing field is going to be equal for all businesses. No matter how large or small you are, you will know the same the large companies know. Welcome. My name is Sally Gimmon. I am the owner of theTrustIsYou.com, and my goal is to help as many U.S. business owners, U.S. 1099 income earners, and U.S. investors save as much as they can with federal taxes with the Spendthrift Trust. It's legal. It's in the IRS Tax Code 643B. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, how come I've never heard of this? Very good question. The U.S. tax code is 10 times the size of all of Shakespeare's work. If you line up Shakespeare's work back to back to back to back, Shakespeare's a lot more interesting to read. This comes from England way back in 1534. Let me make sure I have this right number. I want to write this down. This comes from England way back in 1534 when King Charles VIII, that famous king who chopped off his wives' heads, started the Church of England. Came to the colonies as contract law while we were still part of England, and the law firm I work on behalf of inherited a trust that turned 350 years old in 2023. They've been saving taxes for 3.5 centuries. Our current tax code went into effect February of 1913 and was only supposed to be around for a few years. Well, more than 110 years later, it's still there. And the super rich families of 1913, the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, and the Carnegies, made sure they could save taxes. Well, if they could save taxes, we can save taxes too. I believe every business owner, U.S. 1099 income earner, and investor needs to know this information to decide if they would want to have a spendthrift trust on their own or not. I believe since I found a solution for saving short-term capital gains after I got in trouble, I need to share this information. And I believe the playing field for every businesses should be equal. Now, the Spendthrift Trust, you're going to write this down, is going to save you in four very important ways. Number one, it's going to save you taxes year after year, generation after generation. The Rockefellers Spendthrift Trust is called The Office. It is now 7 generations old and has almost 400 people under the same EIN or the employee identification number. Number two, it's going to keep your information completely private. Unfortunately, there's a false rumor out there that your LLC, S Corp, or C Corp will do this for you. I can go to the Corporation Commission or the Secretary of State of your website online, of your state online, and research all LLCs, S Corps, or C Corps. There's a reason why 40% of all LLCs get sued every year. With the Spendthrift Trust, nobody's going to know what you have, where you have it, or how much you have of it. Number three, talking about lawsuits. If you get everything into the Spendthrift Trust, it is a titanium vault, and you can't get money from a stone, and all lawsuits become frivolous. And number four, if you don't know about the 2024 Corporate Transparency Act from the Treasury Department, if you have the Benson Financial Trust, you are exempt from doing that paperwork. Please, if you don't have the trust, do the paperwork for the Treasury Department. The fines are going to be $10,000 if you don't do it, and or 2 years in jail. Now, again, this is in the IRS Tax Code 643B. Paul Benson was a Harvard law professor, and 76 years ago, he wrote 5 different trusts, and that they've never been audited. The full name of the trust is Irrevocable, Complex, Discretionary, Non-Grantor, Spendthrift Trust. All 5 elements are super important. Number one, irrevocable. It goes from generation to generation to generation. Again, the Rockefellers Spendthrift Trust is called the office, and it's 7 generations old. Complex. The Spendthrift Trust can hold money day to day, week to week, year to year, decade to decade, century to century. 97% of the trusts sold out there are what my mom and dad had and what Susie Orman talks about on television. The family trust or the living trust. It's about $1,000 and it avoids going through probate. That's it. It does not keep your information private. It does not save you taxes. It does not keep you from paying any judgments if you get sued. And it does not save you from doing the 2024 Corporate Transparency Act. This is the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, U.S. President's Trust, not my mom and dad's trust. It's very special. So that's a discretion, irrevocable, complex, discretionary. Whoever are the trustees can make the rules for the beneficiaries. There's no contesting this will in court. There's no trying to change things. It's whatever's passed down is passed down. I am single. I have no children. I have 9 nieces and nephews. If I decide I'm going to leave 90% to one nephew and all my other nieces and nephews get 1%, they can curse me, but they can't change it. Non-grantor. This is someone who is not a trust, the beneficiary is going to sign up to be the grantor or the settler for the trust, be the trustee for 5 short minutes, and then sign themselves away. This makes the trust 100% private. Nobody knows where it is or what's happening. And then the 5th element, Spendthrift Trust. It's in the IRS Tax Code 643B, and it has also been in front of the United States Supreme Court on 2 separate occasions. Both times the Supreme Court has favored the Spendthrift Trust. This is as legal can be. Now, since we're going to be spending some time together, I wanted to give you some information about myself. I am currently a real estate investor. I have, since starting both my business and beneficial Spendthrift Trust in September of 2000, I have saved over 6 figures in taxes. I have wholesaled 28 properties. I have 12 notes where I'm the paper on the house. People pay me their mortgage. I have 3 rentals, and I have 4 seller financing houses. I also have a crypto bot, Bitcoin versus Ethereum. Every time it changes, I get paid. And I have 3 online businesses. This has not always been this way. October 2018 was a watershed month for me. 3 major things happened. I was living in Phoenix, Arizona, and my oldest nephew was getting married in Charlotte, North Carolina. I requested the Friday before the wedding and the Monday after the wedding to have off to spend some time in Charlotte because I had friends and family coming in from all over the world. I was denied. I was working full-time as a Medicare broker, and it was open enrollment time. In October, my 3-week-old brand new car, driving to work to be at work at 7 o'clock in the morning. I was on Indian School Road, a major east-west road. Second car threw on a green light. Some bozo ran the red light, T-boned me on my passenger side. Thank God I was not injured. He had no insurance, and silly Sally had the paperwork for gap insurance sitting on her kitchen table. I had 4 weeks to fill it out and hadn't filled it out yet. I was upside down, had to get a second car loan, and I had $8,000 upside down in that loan. I went from being comfortable to eating ramen noodles twice a week. And third thing that happened, my parents, who lived in Goodyear, Arizona, about 20 miles west of Phoenix, drove from Goodyear, Arizona to Charlotte for the wedding. The Thursday before the wedding, I got a phone call from my father saying my mom was in the emergency room. They weren't sure what was wrong. It ended up she had septic of the blood or blood poisoning. She was on a ventilator for 13 months, in a hospital for 15 months. Thank God she got better and came home. I drove out to my mom and dad's house once a week to do the mail. In December of 2018, there was a letter that was 27 pages thick from the Medicare services. When I opened it up, it was her statement for the first month in the hospital. In big, bold black letters, it said it was $72,000 to be in the hospital. Now, my parents had Medicare. My dad was a retired officer. They had TRICARE for life. Everything was being done for my mom, and she was taken care of. I'm standing in my mom and dad's kitchen, and I know I'm in trouble. I have $184,000 in debt. I have a mortgage. I have 2 car loans. I have student loans because I went to graduate school, and I have credit card debt. My healthcare plan had an $8,000 deductible. Remember that car accident? I asked everybody not to call an ambulance for a reason because I had an $8,000 deductible. Yikes. Right there in my mom and dad's kitchen, I called my friend Glenn and said to Glenn, who had invited me to a real estate meeting in August of 2018, and Glenn answered, and I said, Glenn, I need to change my life. He's like, Sally, next Saturday, we're having a potluck Christmas party. Get a $5 gift and bring some food and meet my fellow real estate investors. I don't know about y'all, but going to a party where you don't know anybody, a little bit scary. It was the best decision of my life to do that. And in 2019, still working full-time as a Medicare broker, I wholesaled 7 bank-owned properties nationwide and paid off $184,000 in debt. I was a rock star, and I knew about capital gains, and I had set aside $50,000. Well, come April 2020, my CPA calls me and says, Sally, we need to schedule an appointment. I schedule a 4 o'clock appointment in Scottsdale, Arizona, go out to meet him, and I knew about capital gains, but what I didn't think of is my tax bracket went from 22% up to 24%. There are 7 different brackets from 10% to 37%, 7 different brackets. The more money you make, the more you have to pay in taxes. There are 4 ways to file your taxes: single, head of household, married jointly, married separately. Single is the most expensive way. He says to me, you now owe the federal government $79,000 in short-term capital gains. I want to put you on a payment plan. Here's the paperwork. Fill this out. I kept it together. My stomach dropped to my size 11 feet, but I kept it together. I signed the paperwork. I went out, got my parking validated, went down to the parking garage, and I literally cried for 20 minutes in my car. Where was I going to get an extra $29,000 like that? I drove home. Scottsdale's east of Phoenix, so I'm driving home into the sunset, tears running down my face. Get home. My boyfriend made dinner because he knew I was seeing my CPA. We sat across from each other going, what are we going to do now? My solution was to take out a HELOC on my recently paid off house. Completely defeats the purpose of being financially free. But I took out the HELOC, paid off my capital gains, and then from there, I started researching. For the next 5 months, I researched the Spendthrift Trust. In September of 2000, I started both my business and my beneficial trust. And in over 3 years, I have saved over 6 figures in taxes. Now I want to teach as many U.S. business owners, U.S. 1099 income earners, and U.S. investors how they too can save in taxes. So to get back to my story, Paul Benson, 76 years ago, was a Harvard law professor. He wrote 5 different trusts. The business trust for U.S. business owners and 1099 income earners. They will save at least 90% on their federal income taxes, and in 43 states no longer pay state income taxes. My favorite local pizzeria here in the Charlotte area, husband and wife have 2 locations. They heard me, the owner, Roberto, heard me talking. He set up an appointment with me and his wife, Marianne, a week later. They're making about $15,000 gross per month, $180,000 per year. In 2020, in a full year, we will save them $34,379 at 90% and state income taxes. Instead of paying off their mortgage, buying a new car, taking the family on vacation, giving to a charity, they open up a 3rd location. And in 2025, they're going to open up a 4th location. When they retire in 10 years, they're going to leave 2 pizzerias to one child and 2 pizzerias to another child. The children will pay no inheritance tax, and they too will save 1099 income taxes year after year, generation after generation. Another example about saving people money. I just had a recent phone call with a mother of 3. 1 child's in school, 2 children are at home. She's a stay-at-home mom. Her husband's working, making about $75,000 a year. They're in Texas. She started digital marketing while at home. In the first 5 months of 2024, she's made over $100,000. Congratulations to her. She's doing fantastic. But she has raised their federal taxes from 12% up to 22%. And if she continues doing what she's doing and makes $200,000 in 2024, she's going to raise her taxes from 12% up to 24%, just like I did. I gave her the information. If they start the business Spendthrift Trust for the next 6 months, she's going to save over $10,895. For a full year, she will save over $33,000. She and her husband are discussing this. The beneficial trust is for all U.S. investors. If you are doing a fix and flip or a wholesale deal and you're at 22% and sell it for $50,000, you will save $1,000 in capital gains. If you're at 24%, you will save $12,000 in capital gains, short-term capital gains. Long-term capital gains are either 15% or 20%. I helped a business broker sell a family restaurant. Joe and his three brothers built this restaurant 42 years ago. When they sold it for, as is, everything in it, for $3 million. At 15%, he's going to save $460,000 April 15th, 2025. At 20%, he's going to save $600,000 April 15th, 2025. Joe is 69 years old. His wife is 67 years old. The six figures are going to help them in their retirement. The business broker had never heard of the Spendthrift Trust. He's now an affiliate of mine and has sent me 7 more clients. Amazing thing. Interest income taxes are for passive investors. I don't care if you're a